good to see you all back once again. And it's really an honor for the entire team GNOSIS with the kind of reception that we are getting from people all around the world. And we already have around 170 people participants who have joined us, and I'm sure the number will rise up below 230 to 40. That's been the average has been around 230 to 240 per day. So in spite of the, I would say, the floods of webinars and seminars and online lectures going on simultaneously, it is really very encouraging to see scholars and academicians taking out their valuable time and joining with us. So it's really an honor from the entire team GNOSIS. I really feel honored. And today, as I shared with you all, we have a very versatile speaker with us today. As I had introduced him yesterday a bit, and also I had shared the abstract of his talk few days back with you all. He is Dr. Kumar Vimlendu Singh, who holds a PhD degree in English literature, but his forte is equally Hindi literature as well. As I shared yesterday, that he has been one of the few contemporary writers in Indian academia who has been Amazon bestseller both in his Hindi book category and in his English book category. And presently, with the lockdown setting in, he is writing a lot on film archiving. He is writing a lot on different genres of films, the type of genres, and there's a series he wrote called Bhuli Bisri Yade, and he is a published author. He has conducted more than 1,000 workshops, if not less, and he is an erudite scholar as well. But in the recent past, he's doing very well in film archiving and film critiquing. That's the kind of versatility that I am talking about the present speaker today. I am really, I feel honored on behalf of Team GNOSIS to welcome him, Dr. Kumar Vimlendu Singh. And without wasting much time, I would hand over the platform to Kumar Vimlendu Singh. The platform is all yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Banerjee. Thank you for your generous words for me, and thank you for all the praises that you made me a bit more heavy. I'm heavier. I'm feeling heavier now. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining in. And that is first, I must congratulate Dr. Banerjee for organizing such a fruitful webinar. And as he said in his introductory speech, that there is a flood of webinars. Even every day I'm also speaking for 2 or 3 webinars, but I was eagerly waiting for this one because GNOSIS Lecture Series 2020 is really going fine. And I'm really waiting for the recordings because it was very difficult for me to join in the sessions because every day, 2 or 3 sessions were there. But surely I'll go through all the things. And today, Dr. Banerjee, can you do that share screen so that I can show my presentation as well?
Yeah, it's done.
Okay. As I was saying, so these are the things. Today, as Dr. Banerjee told us, is it visible?
Yes, absolutely clear.
Okay, fine. So the topic as it is written here and as he has introduced it and he has said it about it before this also, it is writing about cinema and its people and the challenges involved in this practice. So cinema is such a powerful medium. And the history of cinema is not that old. It started in the last decade of last decade of years, you can say 19th century, in the very beginning of 20th century, almost 1896 or 97 to be precise. It started in that time, and gradually it overpowered, and it became one of the most famous mediums, to express that whatever is going on, or to captivate, or to present, to render the reality as well as the ethics, or what ought to be, these kind of questions were also answered through cinema. So cinema, because it was audio visual, initially it was just visual, and that too static, and after that uh, moving visuals came, they were called movies, and after that talkies were there. So gradually it traveled, and today, as we can see, that it is one of the most powerful medium that is affecting our lives. So writing about cinema is really challenging, because there are many factors that operates over here, because after Second World War, that means Second World War was between 1939 and 1945. Before the start of Second World War, films, they were already popular, and they really traveled very fast. They really were accepted in a very fast manner. Very rapidly, they entered every household, because every televisions were not in those times, but still people loved to watch movies, go there in the theaters and all, and watching themselves on screen and their fellow people on screen. That was really a very pleasant thing. So it became popular. But when Second World War started in 1939, before that, films were at their crest. But something like this, that is called what you say, Second World War. This was devastating. It affected us very much, this world very much. And after that, people stopped believing in structures, in fixed structures. And this affected the tendency of the artists, not only in films. It affected in literature, it affected in paintings, it affected in all sort of medium of expressions. So whenever these kind of happenings take place, or these things occur, that ways of expression that changes. So writing about cinema, it happened accidentally. I never chose to write about cinema, but it was a medium that was affecting me very much, like all other people. So I thought to trace its history that is not very old, and I tried to bring certain things, that why cinemas are being like this these days, and why they were good in those golden era, and what kind of cinema was being made in those days, and what was the actual impact that was fueling the filmmakers in those times to come up with that sort of movies, and why we are watching these kind of movies these days. And it is the same nation where we have watched Satyajit Ray, Ritvik Ghatak, and all those kind of good directors, Mehboob Khan kind of people. And here we are also watching Anushka Sharma and all those people who are directing and making movies. So things have changed, and you can easily trace it out that few things really technically we have traveled far, and we have improved a lot. But content wise, many people say that we have gone down. So these are the aspects. So when you write about cinema, all these sort of tastes and the things, they really affect you. People come and they tell you that, why are you writing like this? Why are you writing that? Why are you not mentioning him? Why are you not mentioning me? Or certain things are there. So we will ponder over these kind of issues today, and it will be an interesting one, and I hope that you will enjoy. The first thing, when you are writing about films, there can be 2 or 3 ways. Either you will write about films, film review, or you will write about the
Sorry
actors
to
and
interrupt
actresses.
you, Dr. Vimlendu.
Yeah,
Can you
doctor.
just
Yeah.
make your PPT full screen?
Full screen. You want to?
Just
Okay.
from the below. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying.
Yeah, that is the option. The last one.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes,
Is it
absolutely.
visible?
Absolutely. Sorry for the
Okay.
interruption.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So what I was saying, that when you write about cinema, first I will talk about cinema in general, And after that, I'll narrow it down. When we'll proceed, I'll narrow it down towards Hindi movies or Indian movies or Indian cinema, you can say. So cinema, because Indian cinema, I'm doing it this way because Indian cinema is very much affected with world cinema and especially Italian cinema. So whatever we say or whatever we regard as the best cinema or the golden age cinema of our country, that is just an offshoot of the experiments done by Italian filmmakers in 1943 to 1950s. In that specific span, whatever experiments they did with filmmaking, that only affected Indian movies in such a manner that till date we can get the glimpse of those techniques in our recent filmmakers. So I will start with world cinema, not throughout the world, but specifically the popular world cinema. And after that, I'll narrow it down and we'll ponder over the Indian cinema and the tendencies that Indian cinema acquired from the world cinema and how much it affected and how it is going. So I was saying that when you start writing about cinema, 2 or 3 concerns are there. The first concern is that what you are writing about, what you are going to write about, because cinema is a collective term. You know, there are many things in cinema. There is photography, there is cinematography, there is editing, there is songwriting. If you talk about Indian cinema, there's music part, background score. So many things are there. So about what you're going to write, if you're writing about film is the result of that collective effort by cinematic people, those who are working there, right from spot boy to the director of the movie. So whatever that collective effort, when it is combined, that makes a film. And when you choose to write about films, you have to be very particular about that what you want to convey. You want to write about the whole film in general, or you want to talk about the actors and the actresses, or you want to talk about cinematography, or you want to talk about photography, or you want to talk about dialogue writing or the poetry involved, how much literature is being given space in the movie, or how much movie is occupying literature. So these are the concerns. So you have to choose one. Writing about cinema, the first challenge is that you are having so many options and you'll have to choose only one or two. If you want to write an article in which you want to ponder over or you want to show all these points, so that will be a collage kind of thing. That will not be a full article in itself. But that is the need of the people these days. The readership about films, if the readership about films is concerned, want you to mention all these things that I mentioned. So they want to listen on all these points that I mentioned. So this selection is one of the toughest things that what you're going to do. And suppose you have done that you will write about films in general. That while writing about a movie, while writing about a film, you will first tell the background or why this film was made and how this film was made, who was the director, who was the producer, and how actors acted in the movie, and what was the result. It was a hit or it was a flop. So that is in general, and generally you appreciate that, okay, this was a very good movie and people till date remember it. That is one way. Sometimes you become critical, and that can be because of estimates with you, either historical estimate about the character or the actor or the technician about whom you're writing, or it may be your personal estimate. Personally, you do not like that fellow or that actor or that actress or his work or her work, and you start criticizing them in a very bitter manner. So you have to be very cautious about that. That's why I have written here in this slide that neither panegyric nor diatribe is required. You cannot write all praises for anyone, and at the same time you cannot criticize each and everything about an actor, because it is an art, and whatever they are doing on screen, it is not their will that is supporting or promoting them to do so. It is also the need of the director or the producer or the scenario in which they are acting. So while commenting or while writing about a film or a person who worked in the film, you have to be very particular about that. And 2 things that I mentioned, historical estimate and personal estimate, they may bother you. They will bother you rather. So if you are not, if you dislike an actor, the actor and his or her appearance on the screen irritates you, or you don't like it, you don't like him or her. Take it as simple. Take it as simple as that. That you don't like him or her, and if you'll sit down and write about him or her, the things they will come to your mind that no, I don't like him. Here he was not that good. Here he would have done better. You mentioned some other act. So you have to restrict yourself from doing these things, because once you write about these people and you are getting published regularly in some of the popular magazines and newspapers, somehow they read about themselves. Somehow that reaches them, and we may face the heat. Not in that term I'm saying, but it may hurt someone. So, and it is not good also, because you are not presenting the exact and the right thing to the readers. So you have to be very particular while writing about a person of cinema or cinema in general or films, that you are not writing all praises or all criticism. No, you have to strike the mean. You have to strike the balance. You have to be very balanced while writing. If you are criticizing someone, you will have to mention it, that why, according to you, this is the point. Suppose here I have presented a picture of Mr. Amrish Puri. One is from the movie, I think, Pardes, it is, that is the gentleman wearing a tie. Another one is some tantric kind of getup he is in. So here, you see, the appearance tells it all. Suppose you are not liking Amrish Puri and you are not fond of Amrish Puri on screen. You say, no, he always works in the same manner. The fact is that it is not his will to act in the same manner. It is not his will to act in the same manner. It is the demand of the script that always, they have stereotyped our actors, the directors and the producers in late 70s and till mid 80s or till the beginning of 90s. They stereotyped. You can see Amrish Puri always as a Thakur or that Zamindar in a village who is an exploiter and who exploits, who really is a very tough and rough person, and he's not having even a bit of, even an iota of pity within his heart. So that is the stereotyping that has been done. So they have done it, that's why he has acted like that. So while commenting on his acting, you must not criticize his appearance or his acting that he is doing. So no, that is the demand. That is the demand of the script, demand of the director that is promoting him to do so. So we have to be, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, fine. So you have to be very particular about this. You have to be very cautious, and I must say that clinical precision is required. Not just being cautious or precise will do or will work. No. Clinical precision, because it affects, because you are criticizing or you are writing about a piece of art. So you have to have that knowledge before you start commenting. So how you will ensure that it is neither a panegyric nor a diatribe, you'll have to be very much aware of the things. You see, cinema is not, cinema or the film that you're criticizing or the person or the actor you're criticizing or you're talking about, you must take him as a part of cinema or the film, not personally you have to treat him. So that personal estimate must be restricted while writing those actors or those films. You see, this is also writing about classics. This is a great film. This was a great film by the great filmmaker, one of the greatest on our land. He was Bimal Roy. You might have listened to his name, and those people who are fond of cinema, they're very well aware of this name, Bimal Roy. He was the man who gave us so many beautiful films. So here I have kept the poster of Do Bigha Zameen because it is my personal favorite. And see, now we'll talk about, as I have written in the slide, this is visible to you, on that one must be aware about the factors that fueled the filmmaker to make such kind of film. What were the factors? Why the filmmaker came up with this kind of creation, and why it was taken so well? Why people appreciated it so well, and why they are appreciating it till date? There are many factors. So you have to, when you're writing about classics, you have to be aware about the social and the economical conditions in those times. And apart from these things, that you are aware of the factors, you are aware of the social and economical conditions, you must be aware of the influences on the filmmaker, that what influenced. So let us talk about this film. Let us talk about Bimal Roy. Let us talk about Satyajit Ray, about Ritwik Ghatak, and all those great filmmakers who really are the gems in the arena of filmmaking in India, who are the faces of Indian film, especially Bimal Roy and Satyajit Ray. So, and they, whatever movies they made, they were deemed as classics because they were classics. They came up with flying colors, and they stood well in the test of time when they were tested against time, and they were beyond temporal boundaries accepted so well. So see, these movies of Satyajit Ray or Bimal Roy or Ritwik Ghatak is, let him be. First, we must concentrate about this Raj Kapoor of Hindi films, Bimal Roy and Satyajit Ray of Bengali films. You must know about the factor that, as I told you in the beginning, that 1943 to 1950 is regarded as golden age of world cinema. And you know why it is so? Because uh, Italy was the place where movies were being made, and many countries, every country was making its own movie in their own nations. But Italy was the place where internationally people gathered and they talked about films. They shot their movies. There was a film city kind of expansion, and it was named as Cinecittà. The name of that expansion was Cinecittà. And Cinecittà was so popular, it was so huge that many great movies were shot over there. What happened in 1939 or 40, that Second World War was on, and it was bombarded. And that studio, or that studio-like expansion, that was destroyed. Not completely, but major portion of that was destroyed. So filmmaking in that arena was in that area, in under that vicinity, that was not possible. And what they did, that they kept war prisoners over there, and they made it as a camp kind of. So film shooting was not possible, and life was also very much affected in those times. After Second World War, people were devastated, especially of Italy. So a new kind of movement known as neo-realism, neo-realism, and it was a complete cinematic movement, I must say. It was a complete cinematic movement. And there was a magazine in those days, and its name was Cinema. And Visconti, Puccini, Savatini, they were the journalists, they were the film writers who wrote about films in those times as well. And they were the editors, they were the journalists, and they were the editors of that magazine, Cinema. And they started this movement, which was known as neo-realism. And what was that neo-realism? Why I am talking in detail about this? Because this was the movement that affected Indian cinema in such a manner that Indian cinema and filmmakers of India, they really adopted so many things from there, that till date we can get the glimpse of that effect. Till date. Now see, let's resume the story of that neorealism. What happened, that Cinecittà was destroyed. Films were, it was not possible to shoot films over there. And as I told you, Zavatini, Puccini, and all these editors, they were promoting that neorealism kind of movement, but that was in writings only. But three filmmakers, they came up with their ideas, their innovations, their new ways of making films. And these three were Fellini, Rossellini, and the best one, De Sica. De Sica was the filmmaker whose filmmaking really affected world cinema and in turn Indian cinema. Indian cinema is as old as world cinema, if not exactly, then only a few years there are a few years as a gap between world cinema and Indian cinema. They are almost of same age. So we must know about these things. So I named three filmmakers, Rossellini, Fellini, and De Sica. Especially De Sica. De Sica was a filmmaker who came up with his movie in 1948, and the name of the movie was Bicycle Thief. Bicycle Thief. Bicycle Thief was a movie which was shot not in the studio but on the streets of Italy. And they never made sets. It was shot amongst the normal crowd, everyday crowd. No specific angle was made. And sometimes what he did, that great filmmaker Desika, that he kept his camera at some corner on the street and the things were captured and he used it in the movies. Sometimes he used some actors who were not part of acting fraternity. He chose them. He chose some common man, random, and he asked him that you have to say. And he never asked to say something. He just said a thing, and the response was captured, and it was used in the film. So this was new. This added a tinge of this added rich hue of realism in the movies. And that Bicycle Thief, it was having so much of impact. What happened that in brief, I'm telling the story of that movie. That there was a father, there is a son. They were walking. The son is of 9 or 10 years old, and the father, they were having a bicycle. They parked their bicycle, but the father forgot to lock it. And what happened that someone took away that bicycle. It was someone stole away that. Now, father and the son, they started searching for their bicycle, and they went here, they went there, they wandered everywhere, sought every kind of help, but from nowhere they got any sort of help. So they were frustrated because cycle was their need in those times. Now, what father saw, that there was a cycle parked near a stadium which was not locked, and it was very much similar to his own bicycle. So what he did, and it was not locked, so he tried to take it away. And he assumed it. It was not made clear in the movie that he assumed it is his bicycle, or he felt so, or he was having that intention to steal it away. That was not made clear. But he took that bicycle and he wanted to move away with that bicycle with his son. But crowd came and they started beating him up. But after some time, he was left. That okay, you may go, you may leave. And while leaving, father and son were not speaking to each other, and father was having tears in his eyes because he was presented as a thief before his son. And here the movie ends. Now the specific thing about the movie was its shooting in the natural background and in the real background. The people, the characters who were real, they were not actors. This was the thing. Now this movie left its impact in such a manner on Indian filmmakers that they adopted that style. They started doing so, and many, especially Raj Kapoor, you can see his Avara, you can see his Shri 420. In these movies, he is trying to replicate this. Raj Kapoor was so fond of Desika. I'm telling you that once there was a movie made by Desika called Shushia or Shoe Shine. And that movie was made as Boot Polish. It was Boot Polish by Raj Kapoor, was a remake of Shushia or Shushai. So it became a trend. It became a trend to show these kind of things, real things, natural things in the movie. So that was a movement which really affected Indian filmmakers. That's it. So not only Raj Kapoor, when Satyajit Ray was making his films, the famous Apu trio, the famous one, the Pathir Panchali or Apur Sansar, and one more movie was there with it. So these three films, they were thoroughly inspired by Desika. And it was not the end. The Do Biga Zameen, there was a story of a farmer who for his land tried. And see, the plot is very similar. There they were searching for the bicycle. There they were bothered for their bicycle. Here he was bothered about their land. They were his son, his father. They were bothered about the land. Raj Kapoor was bothered about his uncertain future in Avara. In Shri 420, he was bothered about his career. So the things, the bone of contention kept on changing, but the theme, the basic plot remained the same every time, and it was Desika who started this plot. So this neo-realism was the main factor. Now, after that, historical movies, they came in vogue. Historical movies were made, and I'm talking about cinema. Why I'm telling you? Because when you write about these things, this is the history of cinema, and you must be aware about this. So historical films also came, and there are certain challenges about writing the historical. About when you are writing your article about historical films, you must have that knowledge and that difference in historiography and history of 40. There are the two terms, historiography and history of 40, and most of you are aware of this. So. Indian filmmakers, when they make films, they always create chaos about that. When they make, especially those historical movies. Recently, we had that Padmavat, and there was such a chaos in the whole nation. One fragment was saying that it is liberty; they must enjoy their liberty in expression, and it is an artistic piece, and they must be allowed to show the movie as they want to do. And on the other side, there were the people who were having that fragment, who were having that thing that no, Padmavati was a figure whom they worship, whom they consider as their mother or the queen mother. So she cannot be shown dancing in the movie. And that Khilji, he's coming and he's doing so. So these are the things. They were the proof fragments. And writing about Padmavat in those times, that was really very tough. That was really difficult. So, but when you explain, when you tell it to your audience or when you tell it to your readers that there are two things, historiography and history of 40, historiography suggests something else and history of 40 suggests something else, we are taking a bit of liberty, and that's why we're... So, Indian filmmakers, they are very much bothered about history of 40. Historiography, the proper study and the detailed study, they do not want to do that. I can name many movies. You can see Ashoka, when Shah Rukh Khan was playing Ashoka and still behaving as Rahul. And when that movie was there, Jodha Akbar, where Hrithik Roshan was playing Akbar and Aishwarya Rai was probably there as Jodha. So films were shown, those things were made, but they relied on history of 40 rather than historiography. So when you write about historical movies, you first present the things that this is written in the history, this is shown in this picture, and from where the director has tried to show and take his uh, material or the content, you must tell it. Now I'm shifting a bit, and I must tell that a bit of technical knowledge also helps. While writing about movies, when you know about some technical things, it helps you a lot. Because sometimes when director is directing a movie and the cameraman is doing his work, so cameraman also wants to deliver something or wants to add something or wants to uh, glorify or decorate something with his techniques. And especially only two techniques are there till 80s. India two techniques were very popular. It was zoom in and fade out. Close up. Zoom in is also a close up kind of thing. So and see, in Europe, in Western movies, it was used in 1930s or 40s. It was done for the first time in the movie On the Birth of a Nation by Griffith. And Lillian Gish was heroine in that. So Lillian Gish, and she was the first actress on whom that close-up was done. And that fade out was done. So when cameraman tries to express, and it always goes with the demand of the director, so that we must know about these things, that what is close up, what is fade out, and why these things are done. So a bit of technical knowledge about writing, if you're also having that technical knowledge about writing, we already are concerned with literature in one or other way, so we are aware of that. But a bit of technical knowledge about filmmaking, I'm not saying that you must know the whole textbook of cinema or the filmmaking, but a bit of things, the general kind of things. Like we say, the 12 reel, movie of 12 reel. That means you must make it out after listening to it that the movie will last for 2.5 or 3 hours. Episodes, why they're called episodes, and what is dramedy, what is sitcom. So all those things, some terminologies, not the whole glossary, but few terms that are being used frequently while writing about movies. You must be aware of that. If you're not aware of that, you can write always, but that will not be that effective. If you want to make it effective, you will have to know certain technical terms. And I'm again repeating it, not the whole glossary, not the whole glossary is required. You just require few words, few terms, which writers or the filmmakers or the people concerned about writing films or about films. So you must be aware of those terms and terminology. Now, there are three ways to read a film, and I'm reading out the slide, and after that, literary aspects, the elements that film shares with literature. Many movies are made. Now, literary movies, now the literary aspects in the movie, you see 1998 when that movie, Madden made that movie, Shakespeare in Love, that won 7 Oscars. And Joseph Fiennes was the actor, and Gwyneth Paltrow was there, Judi Dench was there. It was a huge star cast. So, Ben Affleck was also there, yes. So there was a huge star cast, and you see that was not based on any literary creation. It was an imaginary presentation of Shakespeare's life, and it was woven with imaginary and the document or the documentary facts or the facts that are documented or written about Shakespeare. They wove it so well with their imagination that it became a cult movie, and it won 7 Oscars. So the elements that why that movie was so hit, because many factors were there. Plot was Shakespearean life. The characters, you see how beautifully imagination was blended with some facts in that movie. See, the Shakespeare was in love with a lady who was disguised as a boy. She worked in his drama troupe also, and later on he realizes that this lady, the boy with whom he's working is not a boy actually. She's a girl, and her name was Viola de Lesseps. So in the final scene, when Queen Elizabeth was asking Viola de Lesseps to leave Shakespeare, Viola de Lesseps says it to Shakespeare. The last dialogue of Gwyneth Paltrow, who acted as Viola, she said, "Write me well." That is the last dialogue of the movie, "Write me well." And it was shown that Shakespeare started writing Twelfth Night, and Viola was also one of the characters, the main character of that play. So see how beautifully things are arranged. So this literary specs, only that person can uh, appreciate this one, who has read Shakespeare as well and who is well aware of the cinematic aspects, the dramatic aspects in the movie, the actors, how they acted, dialogues, costume, makeup, sets, direction. So cinematography, sound editing. A general person, a general writer who is writing about films, he gradually attains these kind of knowledge about editing and special visual effects, especially about sound also. The cinematography, but we can talk and we can say in general talks also, in general discourse also, when when we are engaged in a conversation with a friend also, we talk about actors. Some dialogues, they affect us. Sometimes some stylish clothes of a hero or a heroine, that also affects us. So we can these are the three ways: the cinematic aspects, dramatic aspects, and the literary aspects. So if you are aware of literary aspects thoroughly and a bit of dramatic aspects and pinch of cinematic aspect, you will be a great critic. So you can do that. So these are the strategies that you must be aware of to read a film. First, honestly, watch that movie. That is must. You must watch the movie about which you are writing. You must watch the actor. If you are writing about an actor, or you are doing if you are criticizing his canon of work or the whole lot of work that he has done, then you must be aware of his acting skills, what he has done for the movies, and how he has acted. So all those things you must mention. That must be there. You see, writing about rumors is useless because you are not writing. If you see what we are trying while writing about cinema, that we are trying to find out a ground or a point where literature and cinema can meet, where literature and cinema, with their very fruitful union, with their very appreciable union, they may create something new for the readers. And since cinema is the strongest medium of expression these days, so we must not be bothered about rumors and all that. Is that these are the news items for tabloids. So when you're writing about cinema, always, or people of cinema, or persons, or the actors or the actresses, or anyone involved in the filmmaking process, or the actors or the actresses, you just stop or never pay any heed to the rumors, because writing about them is useless. People will read them and they will throw you away. So if you want to make your importance, or you want to leave your mark as a writer writing about cinema, so these are the things that you must. PR team's diary, this is also PR team's diary, what they do these days. Recent thing, I'm not. It is a Corona period. You see, the world is suffering. We all are, captivated. That's why we are talking in this way. Otherwise, I could have been there at your place. But thank you, Dr. Banerjee. At least people from all the nooks and corners of the world, they are listening to me. This is the medium. So what I'm trying to say, that these days you see what film actors and actors, every day in the news, you can see that some actor is helping people to go back to their respective homes. Somewhere you will see that some actors, they are distributing food packets. And it is not that they are showing it, it is the PR team. So writing about these deeds of actors and actresses is not at all writing about cinema. When you are reporting these things, when you are telling these things, that in this period of Corona, the people are helping Corona affected, why not? Before being actors and actresses, they are citizens, so they must do that. That is a different arena. So when you are writing about these things, that Shah Rukh Khan is cheering his team up, Kolkata Knight Rider, in the Eden Gardens, then fine, he must do that. He is doing that. Let him do that. That has nothing to do with cinema or cinematic concerns. So writing about these activities of actors and actresses, certainly not writing about cinema. So this difference is, very clear, but very few people admitted that. Now I have seen many friends of mine. They are writing for big magazines. They are doing good coverage of movies, and what they are covering, they're not writing about content. They're not writing about the acting skills. They're not talking about the themes, or they are not talking about the impact on the filmmaker or the actor. What they're talking about, that he has distributed sweets, he has distributed clothes. So that is the social work that they're doing. That has nothing to do with the cinematic concern. So if you will talk about these things, if you will go through a PR team's diary, nothing written in those diaries will be regarded as some writing about cinema. So you have to be very clear about this fact, that what you see, the people are involved, the same people are involved. You're writing about same Shah Rukh Khan, you're writing about same Salman Khan, you're writing about same Sonu Sood, you're writing about same Aishwarya Rai. But if you are not writing about their acting, if you are not writing about the films in which they acted, then you are not writing about cinema. You're writing about people, you're writing about person. So this boundary line that must be maintained, and every person involved in writing about cinema, you must be aware about that. Now, as I discussed earlier, that you need to know about the history of cinema. So history of cinema, as with certain things are there, that who acted for the first time, who faced the camera for the first time. While writing about cinema, these informations really work. Which was the first color film, and in India. Now, this is the entrance of Cinecittà that was destroyed. You can see on the screen. Is it visible to you? That is the historical place. So Cinecittà is, more than 40% history of world cinema. So whenever you get chance to go there, to Italy, do visit this place, or you can read about it on your net as well. So you need to know about history of the cinema, because in India, how it happened, you all know. Dada Sahab Phalke, he was credited as the father of Indian cinema. In 1910, he was watching that movie, it was not a movie, it was a silent film, A Life of Christ. It was a silent film, and he watched that, and while watching that film, he realized that if this can be portrayed in this manner, I should also do something for Ram, for Raja Harishchandra, for our mythical characters, our heroes, our god-like and demigod kind of people who are written about in our history or in our Granthas and Upanishads and Vedas. So he was very fond of doing that, and he started doing that. And he came up with Raja Harishchandra, which was the first movie, first Indian film. And after that, it was not like that Dada Sahab Phalke, a single person, only one man, he stood up and he started making movies, and movies became popular. No. there were so many people working about and working around. There were so many people who were bothered about this. And you know what happened? When the political leaders realized that film is such a strong medium, they tried to collaborate with Dada Sahab Phalke. But he was not, he was bothered about his country, he was bothered about the freedom struggle, but he said, no, if political people will take it over, then they will use it as a tool. And he chose to be free from all these things. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he approached him and he said that let's do something in collaboration for our people so that our freedom struggle and this movement may get a pace. But Dada Sahab Phalke, he negated it in a straightforward manner that no, I will be concerned about films only, and with the help of these movies, I will try to arouse the feeling of pride in our citizens, but directly I will not be involved, and I've never been involved in these things. So it was done there. He never mingled with politics. So this is the history of cinema, and that's why you can see the tendencies there till date here. So these are my books about that I wrote. About that I will talk later. But yeah, you can see the good cover and all. So this was the English book, To Whomsoever. About 11 short stories are there, and this was my Hindi poetry book. 25 or 26 poems are there in this book. So as I told you that historical movements, why I talked only about neo-realism, because I told you Raj Kapoor was a big filmmaker. Satyajit Ray was a big filmmaker. And many others who were impacted by the Ritvik Ghatak was a big filmmaker. So they made most of the films in those era in our nation. So you see, the impact was so huge that till date, even today, there is a filmmaker called who is known as Anurag Kashyap. He is a good filmmaker. So most of you have watched that movie, may have seen that movie, Gangs of Wasipur. In that movie, Gangs of Wasipur, you may have seen many characters are there. That is, there are so many characters that it sometimes becomes difficult for us to remember that which character is going where and who is doing what. So it becomes difficult. But that is, in recent times, that was the film that was very much close to that technique of Desika. There is a scene where a person who is doing something with the barrel, and he's making barrel of that pistol. In that movie, that person, he was not told that we are going to shoot this for a film. He was just a general person who was working, and actors, they went there. He was from a distant village, and he was so much unaware of Hindi films and actors that he didn't even recognize Manoj Bajpayee and that other actor, Piyush Mishra. They went there, Piyush Mishra and Manoj Bajpayee, and they asked it in general, and it was being shot. But the person with whom they were talking, he was not told that shooting is going on. And you know what happened? The dialogue that he said, the words that came out from his mouth, they became cult. Bhat ke flower ho jayega. He was talking about that barrel. And that is physically he has said that without any expression, simply that deadpan expression. So this was the thing. Now deadpan reminds me again. See, this was the thing that we were talking about, only the effects of some World War and that kind of thing. One more thing was there. The comedy was also getting that kind of push. Charlie Chaplin, a person, how we can forget, whenever we talk about movies, we'll have to talk about Charlie Chaplin. So Charlie Chaplin, and there was one more great comedian. I don't know how many of you know him. He was very famous in those times, and those people who are interested in cinema, they know him. His name was Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. You see, why I am telling about them, you see the difference at the same time, in the same period, and for many years in the same nation. They worked together. Not together, I mean to say that they worked at the same time, in the same time span. But Charlie Chaplin is still date regarded as the king of comedy, and we remember him as some demigod kind of figure. But Buster Keaton, he is not known to many. But at that time, when they both were performing, when both of them were acting in the films, in the movies, they were at the equal level. And Buster Keaton, he joined us. Contract with MGM, that is Metro Goldwyn Mayer. He joined he just signed a contract with them, and he drowned himself in alcoholism and became a drunkard sort of. But he came back, and he came back in a subtle fashion, in a very great way. So the basic difference in the comedy of Nasi, what two kinds of comedy were popular. One was slapstick comedy, that is popular till date. And the other one, which was being promoted by Buster Keaton, that was known as vaudeville. And some in German, it may be pronounced in some other way also. But vaudeville. Sometimes vaudeville, they say it like this also. But vaudeville in English, we'll say this. So slapstick comedy, what happens in that, the people, two characters, they bang into each other. They make that cake into, they will put that cake in your face. They will push the cake in your face. And the sort of things, or the sort of so naughtiness that you can find in Tom and Jerry show, that is slapstick comedy. But what Buster Keaton did, that he never came up with so many expressions on his face. He was person with a deadpan expression, no smile, no tears, just deadpan. And he relied much on his antiques. He relied much on his athletic skills. He was a superb athlete. And he just flew in here. He just crashed into some gate, but he just got up very comfortably. It was his athletic skill, and it was very much appreciated. So these were the two types of comment. Two types of other things were there. In neorealism also, there were two ways of presentations. In India also, you can see that. I'm coming to Indian movies. Dr. Banerjee, are we having 10 more minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So see, that neorealism, how it affected Indian movies, it is told. I've discussed that. Now see the impact till date, and it carried forward till 80s, 90s, and till date, as I said, in Gangs of Wasseypur, it is there. So when these movies, neorealism was accepted in the cinematic circle, or the people concerned with cinema accepted it as a national movement. Two things were also there. Always in any era, in any span of time, you will find two different kind of tendencies opposed to each other, sometimes diametrically opposed to each other, but you may find it easily. And these two tendencies were there in that time of neorealism also. When I say that time, to be precise, I can say it from 1943 to 1950. So two kind of presentations were there in cinema circle. Number one, Telefoni Bianchi. I'm repeating it. The name was Telefoni Bianchi. And the second one was Calligrafismo. Telefoni Bianchi was the presentation of such families in the movie who were well-to-do. Those who were not very much bothered with the economic concerns. They were having a huge palatial homes, and specifically it was made sure while shooting that white telephone set must be there in that scene. That was the symbol of luxury, and that was symbol of that you are well to do. That symbolizes your stature. That symbolized your stature in those times. White telephone sets. That's why it is called Telefoni Bianchi. And it was complete imitation of American movies, Hollywood movies. But Calligrafismo, on the other hand, it was having some artistic details. It was having some inclination towards good artistic presentations. And but talking technically about art with people who are laymen, who has nothing to do with painting, and if you will talk to him, or you will have in conversation that strokes of brush and all, they will not understand it. So calligraphismo was that kind of thing, a bit upper level kind of thing, artistic expression in the matter of language also. Language presentation, speech, body language, everything was a bit elevated kind of. So what neorealism did, that it tried to simplify calligraphism. And simple presentation of calligraphism became popular across the world. In India, you may have seen those beautiful movies, Golmaal, Chupke Chupke, by Rishikesh Mukherjee. You might have seen those movies. You see, every character in those movies, they were not bothered with their economic concerns. Everyone is living in a good home. Everyone is eating their good meal. Everyone is having a good friend circle. They are moving here and there. The concerns are something different, and the comedy of errors takes place. That was a presentation of Rishikesh Mukherjee. So that was Telephony Bianchi kind of thing. The calligraphismo, it was something different. You might have seen that brilliant movie Saudagar, in which Amitabh Bachchan was a person who sold good. He took out that palm tree juice and he made good out of that and he sold it in the market. So these movies, so that was calligraphismo. He talked about very, elevated kind of thing. He talked about something really philosophical, but to make it easy or comprehensible for the common person, they chose the content in that fashion. They presented it in that fashion. You see, Shakespearean plays are being simplified these days by Vishal Bhardwaj. You've seen all those. You might have seen all those three movies: Heather and Makhbul, and one more was there, Omkara, the three great tragedies. And they are so similar to Othello, to Macbeth, to Hamlet, that sometimes, even while watching Heather, you may have seen that great actor who just recently passed away, Irfan. He acted as the apparition mentioned in that play, Hamlet. And how beautifully is named that character is Ruhdar. So this is the beauty, just to make it comprehensible. This is the beauty of filmmaking. That till date, those tendencies which started at the time of neorealism in 1943, it started it was at its crest in 1943 to 1950. So all those tendencies are till date affecting our people, our uh, persons, our good filmmakers. They are taking it out. And one more thing was there in 1970s, when the political condition of our nation was not that stable, till 1984, when Operation Blue Star was there, and many other things. In between came emergency and all. You see, the youth was filled up with anger. Youth was very much filled up with anger, and that created a space for angry young man who is having look of a common person, the boy next door kind of look, or the young boy next door kind of look, and that gave space and that gave opportunity that Amitabh Bachchan encashed so well. So tendencies or the political or the economical conditions of the nation, they also affect filmmakers in very certain ways. Many things to say, but now I think that is the one-way thing that was going on and on. If you have some questions, you may ask, please.
Thank you, Dr. Vimal. I will just
Hope
request
you
you can
enjoyed
just
that
stop
travel across
your
the history of
screen sharing
cinema.
so that we can have your full face on the screen.
Pardon?
If you can just stop your screen sharing, we can have you.
Okay, you want me to? Okay, that's okay. Okay. No, if you want, just a minute. In the meanwhile, I can show you some few more slides. Just for I want to share, because you were such a nice audience. You listened to me so patiently. You see, these are the series that are going on. One is about films, that Boli Ujala and Bolti Tasveerein. It is about television serials that is going on, and on everyday basis you can read these articles. These are some reviews of films made in 70s and 80s. So how they are related to literature, as I told you in the slides, as I discussed. So these are the things that I'm doing now. Now this is Lillian Gish, and that is a historical fact. Bhartiya cinema ki pratham naika, Kamla Bai. So all these things are going on, and yes, one more thing. This I must share. Dr. Banerjee, am I? allowed to do so? Hello,
Yes, please.
Dr. Banerjee?
Yes, please.
Hello,
Yes, you're audible, please.
are you listening me?
Yes, please.
Dr. Banerjee?
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Okay, yes. Yeah, you're audible. So the last thing that I want to say, I forgot to say this. Uh, while writing about cinema, this will always be there. Both are the possibilities. Sometimes they will shout at you, sometimes they will praise you. Now, while writing, because when you're writing about people who are famous, they expect something from you, and sometimes you give it more than expectation. Give it in a manner that surpasses their expectation. So at that moment, they will praise you a lot, and I get those praises. Sometimes it will not satisfy them. So, but you have to be impartial in both the cases. It is tough to resist the sheen. uh, Glory also comes to you when you write about glorious people. So to remain true to yourself and true to your writing, that is the biggest condition and the prerequisite for writing about cinema, like writing about any other thing. So thank you. Now you may ask questions.
I request you to stop your slide so that I can have you full on the screen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am really happy and I feel very honored that today's lecture was like a breath of fresh air in this hue and cry, and in this kind of presentations which we had in the last 13 lectures. This was
Oh wow.
a lecture which had its own variety, which had its own information, but this was a lecture which also somehow gave that kind of a fresh air to us uh, after this complete academic delving in the last 13 lectures. So thank you, Dr. Vimal, for so beautifully and so lucidly and so simply talking about various distinct features of film reviewing, film critiquing. And as usual, I have a lot of questions. Now in Gnosis series, what we are exactly doing is we are mailing the questions to the speakers, and
Very
they
good.
can write the answers at their free will and send it back to us, and then we get it published in the forthcoming issues of Gnosis. So 4 or 5
Very good.
speakers per speaker we will get published in the forthcoming issues, and that will continue till the time we start our Gnosis lecture series 2021 next year.
Oh,
So
great. That's great.
yeah, so I will take few questions, and I have some interesting questions. I have some questions
Okay.
which are very critiquing questions. So I will start with a very critiquing question, and I think you are the right person to take this question and answer this question. I will take it, and then I'll take all the questions, because yeah, this I felt very interesting, and the way this was basically, this was not a question, this was an observation. But I think as the speaker, you were speaking and this was put in the chat box as an observation. And as the moderator, I should have that liberty at least to put it forward in this to the speaker. What is the speaker's opinion regarding this statement which one of the participants has made? I will not name the participant, but I will definitely mention the observation. And I think you are the apt person to reply. He says that Chaplin was never a comedian.
Okay.
He used comedy as a facade to portray the brutal reality of common people's life. So, as a
My God.
moderator, I would write as a host, I would like to have your opinions, your views on this statement which was made.
Okay. That's good. That's a good philosophical interpretation. That's a there is a very good saying in French that il n'y a rien hors du texte. There is nothing except the text for readers. In the similar fashion, there is a film or an actor or a piece of art that is being made in the arena of film or the cinema that remains open, that remains pregnant always with meaning. So it is up to you that what meaning you are deriving from it. But yes, for the world which was, or which is, or which will be used most of the times to introduce, to talk about Charlie Chaplin. Yes, he was a comedian, and Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel Hardy, all of them were comedians because they did comedy on screen. And why, one more reason why they were comedians, because to make people laugh doing silly things. Okay, what you said, that he tried to portray the reality or the shrewdness or whatever in their hearts, in their respective hearts, and he tried to cover it with a wheel. Fine, it may be like that, you can explain it like that. But in some philosophy class, when talking in general about films, that is the main concern that I talked about. uh, if you'll ask some director about this, he will say something different. If you'll ask the co-actor about Charlie Chaplin, he will say something different. As an audience, if you got this, that's fine. That's good. That is appreciable that you're trying to extract something different. But sometimes being so much different is not required. So we can say that he was a comedian. Okay.
Rizwan Basir is a research scholar from Aligarh Muslim University.
Okay.
And I quote him, "Sir, my question is with reference to the portrayal of Kashmir in Indian cinema. During 1970 to 1990, most of the movies were shot in Kashmir. And Kashmir at that time used to serve as a beautiful platform and background for Indian cinema. But since the conflict, Indian cinema has hardly depicted anything good about Kashmir. Can we hope that hyper-nationalism will end someday and we get to see some more scenes like Shami Kapoor romancing with Dal Lake on the song Ye Chand Sa Roshan Chehra?"
Inshallah, I'll say for this first. कि ऐसा हो, God willing, बिल्कुल ऐसा हो. It is very good that we pray for this. कि, as he said, hyper nationalism, that has nothing to do with that. Kashmir is still beautiful, and the scenery and all those things. Dal Lake is still there at its very similar place as it used to be, but some political instability is there. And it is not because of hyper nationalism that films are not being shot. Uh, Now, being shot by camera or being shot by gun, these are two different things. So, until and unless the safety is not assured, actors or the crew that works for a movie, they're required to be at that place for, a good span of time they spend there. So their security is the foremost concern. Hyper nationalism or something like that, or any political thought, that has nothing to do with that. You just assure that they will be safe and secure. You will find not only Shami Kapoor is no more, so he cannot dance over there, but you will find Shamila Tagore, of course, also there. So that is all about security. So you assure security. Kashmir is beautiful. Kashmir was beautiful, and it will always be the most beautiful place on earth for Indians, at least. So nothing to do with that political thing. Just security is the concern. That is the thing.
Dr. Robert Perry, he's a professor in Philippine University. His question is, can we consider writing for a cinema a transmedia method of literary study or analysis?
Yeah, see, nowadays you can find many in many universities. You can find that Department of Cinematic Studies or Film Studies. So yes, and I must say it that there is a space, and nowadays they are creating it more and more. As I exemplified Vishal Bhardwaj, that he is working a lot on Shakespeare and he has presented so many things. So whenever you will write about, now you see the 30th World Shakespeare Conference that was held at Banaras, that the topic was representation of Shakespeare. So academicians from all across the world were talking about representation of Shakespeare in films. So that was a platform where films, they were talked about, and literature, of course, it was in the consideration. So yes, cinema studies or film studies, if you will judge it on the basis of literature or the literary content in the cinema, or cinematic concerns or possibilities in a literary piece, until and unless you are not finding it out, then it is very difficult. But till the moment you are able to find it out, or you can easily pick it up. I'm repeating it: the literary concern in cinema and the cinematic concerns in literature. So this is possible, and of course it is an analysis. Of course it is an analysis, because you see, there was a very beautiful movie in 1982. It came. The name was Katha. It was a Hindi movie, and Katha is that same old hare and tortoise story. But here the tendencies of hare and tendencies of tortoise were there in the characters of the movie, who were persons. So those anecdotes, or you can say those fables, they were taken, that they are certainly literary kind of things, but they were represented in a cinematic manner. So yes, it is an analysis, and it can be regarded as an analysis, and I'm very much in for that consideration, because I'm doing so these days.
Dr. Shivangi Srivastav, she has not mentioned her affiliation. Her question is very interesting, and we quite often sometimes we discuss, Dr. Vimal and myself. So I would put this question to Dr. Vimal once again. What can you say about the portrayal of women in Bhojpuri cinema? Doesn't it need to be changed?
It is very much required. It is rubbish that they are doing, and I am really concerned about that. I must say that I'm working a lot on it. I'm bothered with this issue. You know, initially Bhojpuri cinema started in 1962, and the first movie that was made in Bhojpuri was Ganga Maiya To Hai Pieri Chadhaibo. That was the name of the movie, and the great Nazir Hussain, the great actor, director, writer, he was very much concerned about Bhojpuri cinema industry, and the then President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was also from Bihar, and he was also from Bhojpuri speaking area. So they dreamt a lot about Hindi movies, and the portrayal of women in Bhojpuri movies in those days was not as it is these days. Now these days, no content is there, no story is there. The singers who are dancing whole night in some wedding ceremony, they are also actors of the movie. So if they will do so, if they will be the actors, so you cannot expect good content. So really, it is a matter of grave concern, and thank you, Shivangi, that you came forward with this question, and I'm really glad that people like you are thinking about it, and on the same line that we are thinking, and I'm really concerned about it. I'm working a lot on it, and very soon, if GNOSIS allows and if time allows, I will share these experiences with you about Bhojpuri cinema in particular.
GNOSIS is always humbled and honored to have critics deliver their critical talks, and we welcome critics like you to be a part of this platform. We are always honored.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Banerjee.
Next question is from Dr. Muhammad Akram. He is an associate professor in Burewala, Pakistan.
Okay.
His question is, how would you elaborate cinema as a public genre and the form and function of item songs in Indian cinema?
Repeat the question, please.
How would you elaborate cinema as public genre and the form and function of item songs in Indian cinema?
Item songs. Okay. There is a concept, you know, in Urdu poetry also, when you talk about, there is a very good saying. What was the name of the person who asked this question?
Professor Muhammad Akram. He is an associate professor in Burewala, Pakistan.
Okay, Akram Saab. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. And I would like to recite that great poet of our nation, Amir Khusro. He said once in Persian, I think you will be able to understand it, that Nashabam Nashab Parastam ki hadise khab goya, jo gulame aftabam hama aftab goya. Which means, neither I am night, nor the supporter of night who will say always good things so that you can dream peacefully. I am slave of sun, and whatever I'll say, that will be as bright as sun. So this was the pledge that was, this kind of pledge was taken by the filmmakers in India. And when they commercialized it, when the profits were the main concerns, when profit became the main concern, they tried to show it and mint coins on that basis. And it was also there, and that concept was Miraksam was also there. So to show it, to allure the audience, they started doing these item songs and all. So I am particularly not in favor of this kind of presentations. That is my view. Many people may like it. They may, that is their will. But if you'll ask me about that, no, a big no from my side, because in the name of that presentation of entertainment, that entertainment thing, what we are doing, that we are just nudity and violence is being, you know, they are catering those carnal appetites of audiences these days with the help of these item songs. And also I am not in favor of these things, and Indian cinema is laden with these things these days. That is a matter of concern, and very soon uh, now it is high time they have realized it, and they will understand the fact, and they will certainly try to improve themselves. So thank you, Akram Saab. If it was an interesting answer to you, that really made my day. Thank you.
Dr. Ram Sevak Thakur from Nepal. His question is, what makes Indian film writers, directors to make derogatory...
Your voice is not clear, Dr. Banerjee.
Hello? Am I audible?
Dr. Banerjee, your voice is not clear. Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Ram Sebak Thakur from Nepal.
Okay.
His question is, I think he has some, he's angry over Bollywood. So his question is, what makes Indian film writers, directors to make derogatory remark
Again,
about...
your voice is breaking.
Hello? Am I audible?
No, your voice is breaking in between. Now you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah. So his question is, what makes Indian writers, directors to make derogatory remark about Nepalese culture and people, as occasionally seen, although Nepal is a huge market for Indian cinema?
Okay. So first of all, my friend from Nepal, sorry if you're hurt, but it is not so. It was not so. It was not like this in those times. I must tell it to you, because many of our movies, like one of my friends, he asked that why in Kashmir films are not being shot. Nepal, Kathmandu was also one of the beautiful places when many of our great movies were shot, and still we are having the most unforgettable songs of our movies in that Kathmandu only. Kanchire, or those kind of beautiful songs, they were shot in Nepal only. And Nepal was very much part and parcel of our culture. We always treated and liked it as our own. So now derogatory remarks and all those things, that is, you must take it in a lighter vein, because that is, humor, to arouse humor, they are doing so. And nowadays, see, you enjoy that comedy show, or the stand-up comedy show, where people go up and say anything, they vomit out anything, whatever is coming to their mouth or the mind, they're saying that is acceptable, that becomes acceptable to everyone. You take it in a lighter way. Similar fashion, it is not like that it is always made fun of. So don't feel hurt. Sometimes they will talk about it. If you are a fat person, they will talk. The best way is to avoid these things, and to avoid that negativity that is coming to you, and it might be because of some political conditions these days. So please spit it out, let it be. Indians or Indian films are very much fond of Nepal, Kathmandu, and people in Nepal. Especially, I personally admire Nepal so much. I have been there so many times, and next time, to answer your question, I'll try to be in person with you. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I would also just like to add, apart from Bollywood, there are plethora of films in Bengali film industry which are shot in Nepal. In 2019 only, there are films which are shot in Nepal. We have stories, we have detective stories. There's a film called Joto Kando Kathmandute. Matlab, whatever happens is happening in Kathmandu. It's a thriller story that happens in Nepal. It's one of the super hit Bengali films. So, Nepal, we have a very famous film in Bengali where a Nepali Kancha, as you said, Kancha is played by Danny. And that
Hmm.
is the story, beautiful story. I forget the name of the film. The protagonist is Danny. He's a Nepali. And how beautifully is the character depicted in Bengali film. So, Nepal
Yes.
is not only about, negativity.
Yes.
Those things are, perceptions. So, it
Yes.
depends. It depends on the portrayal. But Nepal is always in the good books. Please don't worry about it. Yeah. Next question is from our associate editor, Dr. Indira Nityanandam. Her question is, could you tell us how writing about art cinema is different?
Pardon?
Her question
How
is,
writing about?
her question is, I quote
Uh-huh.
once again, could you tell us how writing about art cinema is different?
Okay. First of all, my regards to you, ma'am. Listened a lot about you from Dr. Banerjee, and if you're listening to me, that's my pleasure. So, yeah, really, art cinema, and that is a very genuine and a very good question to me, because right now I'm writing about those, especially in India. Some movement called parallel cinema was there in 70s, in early 70s, and it continued till 80s. So writing about them is a bit different, because when, as I told in the very beginning, as I said in the very beginning, that when you write about a film, you ponder over the literary aspects, you ponder over the dramatic aspects, and you ponder over the cinematic aspects. So when you write about art cinema, you get a lot to write about all these three aspects, because they always make films based on some literary creation or some writing. So you get so many things to write about that literary thing. And dramatic, because most of the art movies or parallel movies, in context to India I'm talking, they were produced by either by NFDC or NSD Repertory Company. So when these movies were made, the actors who worked in those movies, they were the students of either from either they were from NSD or they were from FTII Pune. So the acting skills, the textbook acting skills, were very much visible in them. So it gives you space to write about that. Their silence, their way of, that is not visible. You cannot imagine uh, that person, Nasruddin Shah, and another person who has not done his training in acting, to say a dialogue in a similar manner. So it gives you space. I think, to write about art cinema, all the three aspects on which we ponder over, that is literary aspect, dramatic aspect, and cinematic aspect, we get space, because they are very much concerned about these aspects, and they do their best before the portrayal, while the portrayal, and after the portrayal also. The impact that is left with us is fabulous. So it gives us a lot of space. So writing about art cinema is always good. Uh, while writing about some popular movies, like say other movies like Mohabbatein was a movie that was made in India, and Shah Rukh Khan was lead actor in that movie. That was remake of Dead Poets Society, in which Robin Williams was the lead actor. But Robin Williams and Shah Rukh Khan, the theme was same, plot was same, but Robin Williams was teaching them to study Walt Whitman in a good fashion, and Shah Rukh Khan was teaching them how to play violin and how to elude with a girl. So that was the basic difference. So you get a lot of things to write about certain movies which are artistically made, because they, while making, also are concerned about those things. So, ma'am, this is all that I can say as of now. Hope I.
Very rightly put, Dr. Vimal. Next question is from Dr. Seema Sarkar. She is an associate professor in English in Lucknow. Her
Okay.
question is, do you think Ardh Satya, the film Ardh Satya, can be put in neo-realism category?
Aradha Satya, yes. Om Puri was lead in that, I think. That movie you're talking about, he was a police
Yes,
officer
yes,
in
yes,
that
yes.
movie. Okay, Aradha Satya. Yeah. Neo-realism tendencies, you can see its effect, especially on cinematography, photography. And if you consider the literary aspect or the dramatic aspect, Ardha Satya, as the name itself is suggesting, it was a partial truth. But yes, they tried to depict the things that were happening in the society in those times, and most of the shots there we cannot say that it is the movie completely which is supporting neorealism, but yes, few shots were there. And the conversation of Om Puri when he goes to his police station and he talks to his superior about his being unable to carry forward or to do his duties in a particular manner. So that was neorealism. The streets which were shown, those techniques, they were certainly following the neorealism technique of presentation. But overall, that movie, parts of the movie, they were, because Arvind Satya was the, you can say it was one of the first movies which were, it was the first movie which was from the side of art cinema or parallel cinema, but it did the commercial success as well. It enjoyed the commercial success as well. So some commercial angles were also, implied while doing the portrayal of that movie. So not thoroughly, but yes, some shots, some dialogues were completely inspired by that neorealism technique.
Bhamini Kashyap is a sixth semester, BA sixth semester, final year student of Assam Don Bosco University.
Okay.
And her question is, first of all, she thanks you, and I quote her, "Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Blessed to attend your session for the second time." Our question is, what is your opinion on relationship between modern art, that is movie, and modern literature, novel especially, with reference to Indian perspective?
Pardon, again, relation between?
What is your opinion on relationship between modern art?
Modern art.
Yeah, modern art, she means movies, okay?
Okay.
And modern literature, by modern literature, she means novel. So what is your opinion about modern art, that is movie, and modern literature, that is novel, with reference to Indian perspective?
Okay. So novel or movie, okay. In literature, now these days, after, from the very beginning, you see, what was her name?
Bhamini. I generally mispronounce her name.
Bhamini, yeah. You see, the tendencies started changing from the very beginning of 20th century only, when the novelists were writing their novels. Before that, you remember, you are from BS 6 semester, so you are in touch with that syllabus. You can easily catch that term, Bildungsroman. So Bildungsroman, before 20th century, in 18th or 19th century, there was they chose a character, they showed their journey from childhood, they attained youth, and they did certain activities in their respective lives, and they came out with the final result. So this was the span of time which was shown in the novels and the writings. But in 20th century, certain philosophical concepts, they ruled the roost. And Henry Bergson was one of the philosophers who came up with the concept of la durée, that is the duration. That means he said that present is flowing, there is nothing called present. So they tried to capture the emotions and the feelings that were taking place in a moment also, and they were also depicted. You might have seen in some of the movies also, the one is Ijazat, in which Nasiruddin Shah and Rekha were there. It was just their meeting on a station accidentally, and the whole film is based on that. There was a movie, Ek Ruka Hua Faisla, that was shot in just one room, and one case is going on, Silence the Court is in session, that was based on that. So just in a moment also, the whole human history can be depicted. That was the tendency of the filmmakers and the novelists after 20th century, and they are doing so. They are trying to portray it in that fashion. So moments have become more important these days. So you can have that pleasure of watching a movie, that same thing. And you are from Assam. There is a very good movie, Assamese movie, that was that one national award also. You might have seen that. Fering Court was the name of the movie. Fering Court. It's a great movie. In that movie also, you can, that means spark. So you can enjoy that movie. That shows the complete tendencies of modern art or modern filmmaking, what you're asking. So what I will say, that what has changed, that moments have changed. Moments. The moments are the main considerations, not the huge span. In the place of span, huge span of time, filmmakers or the artistic people, they are concerned more about moments and the momentary feelings.
Next question is from Mr. Tapeshwar Prasad. He's from your city, St. Xavier's College, Patna. He is a graphic designer by profession and an author. His question is,
St. Xavier's, Patna.
St.
Who
Xavier's
is he?
College, Patna, Tapeshwar Prasad. He's a graphic designer and an author.
Okay. Your voice is breaking, Dr. Banerjee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I audible?
It's audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His question is, do we lose sense of aesthetics when we color a black and white film, for example, Mughal-e-Azam?
Yes, a very good question, and I must say that is one of the best questions of today. Oh, great question. Yeah, and the answer to me is yes. Answer from my side is yes. You see, many movies that Satyajit Ray made, in 70s or 80s, especially that trio, Kolkata trio, Pratidwandi, Jan Aranya, and one more movie was there. I'm forgetting that name. Jan Aranya was there, Pratidwandi was there, Seema Bhatt. These three movies, they were known as Kolkata trio. He was having all that liberty to shoot it in color, but he chose that black and white medium. Why? Because that was more emphatic, and the quality of the content or the quality mm, of the movie, the script of Agantuk that was shot in 1990, which was the color film made by Satyajit Ray, one of the few color films. So this Kolkata trio that he made, Seema Bhatt and Pratidwandi and Jan Aranya, Satyajit Ray was very much able. He was having all the facilities to shoot those movies in color, but he chose to go with black and white because that was his sense, and it was his saying that it makes you search actors and actresses even when they are out of cinematic frame. Even the actors and actresses are not in the cinema frame or the frame of the camera, then also you search for them in black and white movies. That was a statement. What he meant by saying this, I cannot explain it in words, but I can realize that it goes with me as well. And when you color those classics like Mughal-e-Azam, that was shot originally in black and white, you just glorify it. And the color combination is also not that apt. It sometimes pinches your eyes. That soothing effect, that soothing movement, and that dialogue delivery, which gives us enlightens your nostalgia sometimes with black and white. That is colors, they are not able to do so. So that is the thing. I must say that yes, it kills that beauty when you convert those black and whites, those golden black and white films. You see the golden black and white movies in color movies. So yes, sir, I believe this.
Debulina Guha Thakurta, she is an assistant professor in Calcutta. Her question, there are basically two questions. Do you think writing about film is only to focus on dramatic cinematic elements? This is question one.
No. First, let me answer this one. No, certainly not. As I told you in the very beginning, that you have to be particular about what you're going to write about. The cinema is not made up of only these three things. It is not only about literary, dramatic, and cinematic. Now, cinema has to do many things with music also. The music is an integral part, especially when you're writing for any kind of cinema. If you're writing for world cinema also, you may not find songs in those movies, but background score, that matters. That really matters. Your dialogues are supported well with background score. So music is also one of the integral parts. So you cannot restrict your writing just on these concerns. There are many other concerns on which you must ponder over, and you must apply your thought, your way of saying, and your knowledge especially. These are the prominent things. These are the things that are visible easily. That's why generally while doing film criticism, while writing about cinema, people come up with these things, because if you write all other things and you will not write about these three things, that will not be a complete write up related with films. But if you write about these three films and many other things are missing, then also they will consider it as a film writing. So that's why these are integral and important parts, but they are not the only parts. That is the answer to first question.
Second question is, when we talk about films like Padmavat, as you discussed, don't we need to focus on popular or mass culture when we talk of how history is appropriated in such films and the theory of adaptation?
You see, while while making movies or while watching movies, watching is a different aspect. While making movies, especially, I'm bothered about this fellow. So I must not be bothered with my personal estimate. But as I'm writing about cinema and I'm watching movies regularly, you see, there you will find a certain pattern. First, let me answer your question, then I'll give this explanation. Uh, while shooting or while making historical movie, two concerns, I told it in the session also. Historiography and historiophoty, they matter. So when you acquire knowledge based on the pictures or the pictorial descriptions given in some old books or some canon, and you are trying to make a movie on that character, then it's not good. You will have to read certain accounts. You have to do proper research for that. And Sanjay Leela Bhansali in particular fails always in doing this. When he was making Devdas with Shah Rukh Khan, Madhuri Dixit and Aishwarya Rai, you see what he did with Devdas. If you have read Devdas by Sharat Chand Chattopadhyay, if you have read that, you can make it out easily that what he has done to the movie. He implies grand sets, huge curtains, great grand music, and all that is the technique that is, it is noticeable. Every time he is repeating it again and again. So while making Padmavat, especially I'm answering in the case of Padmavat, he again tried to do the same. But you will have, while choosing characters, you have to be very much particular that on what basis you are portraying them, on what basis you are showing these things, what are the historical basis, what are the primary sources, from what are the secondary sources. You must mention that. When you are having these sources with you, no one will object you. You carry on and you make films. But history of relying more on history of 40, yeah, visual distractions. Okay, you are getting visual distractions. Ma'am is saying, okay. History of 40 really disturbs you. Now see, there are many historical facts presented on that Facebook and WhatsApp also. Then you see many pictures of Nehruji lighting a cigarette, and you are making assumptions on that basis that this fellow has done nothing for India. No, that is just one photograph, and you are trying to recreate history on the basis of that photograph. That is history of 40. And similar thing goes with the historical characters. You have seen certain photograph or certain pictorial description, and you are portraying that character. So you have to be very particular and cautious while portraying these kind of characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the last question I'll be asking because of the time, and
Yes.
I will mail you the questions. I will just ask one question from a research scholar. She is Sharda Devi, a research scholar in the Institute of English, University of Kerala. Our question is, there have been many Indian films on disability which have negatively portrayed disabled people. Do you think whether the filmmaker's own ideas get reflected in his film? Since cinema has a great potential to influence social outlook, should the filmmakers feel responsible themselves while presenting different ideas through films?
Obviously, they must be responsible, and disability is not always portrayed in that manner as she is asking, as she is saying in this question. It is not always like this. It has not always been like this. I can recall some films. One was Koshish, in which Sanjeev Kumar was there and Jaya Bhaduri was there. At that time, she was Bhaduri or Bachchan, I don't know. But whatever, Jaya was there. So both of them were deaf and dumb, and how beautifully that movie was made. That was inspirational. That was inspirational. One more movie that I am reminded of is Sparsh, in which Nasruddin Shah was there and Shabana Azmi was there. It was a beautiful movie. Nowadays, the negative aspects and negative things that they are planning to loot a bank or those things, and Amitabh Bachchan with a lady is trying to do something. So inspirational movies were always made with the people with disability. There are many things. So it is not like that the disabled person are portrayed always in a wrong color or wrong light. No, it is not like that. And yes, filmmakers, they must feel responsible. They must have that and feel that responsibility, that what they are portraying, because it is one of the strongest medium. And if they will portray things in that manner, which in an irresponsible manner, that may affect. And we are seeing that our youngsters are being affected by those things, where web series are now, web series is popular these days, and in web series what is going on, censor board is not having any exercise on that. It is outside the jurisdiction of censor board, so they are portraying all those they're presenting, they are catering with all those nudity and violence to our youngsters, so they must also feel responsible. There must be some regulatory body for web series also. So you are very right and apt in saying that filmmakers, as the strongest harbingers of, you know, propagating any idea in the society, they must not only feel, they must act responsible as well. Thank you.
One question, Vimal, what I feel is
Mm,
when you talk of web series, and I have watched a plethora of web series in the last 1 year.
mm, mm,
Hardly I have seen any web series which does
mm,
not use abuse as one of the
mm.
methods of, portraying a character. What's your take on it? Do we really have to abuse to express ourselves?
No, no, no. No, see, this happens. A very good question you have asked. I'm telling you, initially, when Satyajit Ray was making films and Kolkata was pictured again and again in the movies, that was a dream place for people. That Kolkata is a city, you know, the Howrah Bridge is there, how people live there, Victoria Memorial is there, and it created a sort of anxiousness, sort of inquisitiveness about that city, not only in West Bengal, about in adjacent states as well. People from our state, Bihar, people from other states, they also were very much influenced with that. After that, the attention shifted, and it shifted its attention towards Mumbai, the filmmakers. Now, Mumbai Chawl, Mumbai Nukkad, and Mumbai all, those things were portrayed. Mumbai Mafia, this was the thing. And then again, it shifted to Purvanchal. Nowadays, you will find most of the movies or the web series, they are setting, the settings are there in Purvanchal. And to make it more realistic, to make it more appealing, they are just using it as a cheap technique. And it really, you know, it is not only in the movies. You can take it in the stand-up comedy shows. What they're doing, there are no punches, there is no pun, there is no fun, there is no comedy in that, until unless they are saying some absurd word or they are abusing. The claps are not there, whistlings are not there. Once they will say something, some abusive word, and everyone goes like lala. So that is working. That is you know, when people are satisfied with their basic needs, and in the name of entertainment they want to see the reaction of people, that in public also we can say this word, wow. It's giving a sense of, you know, freedom. And when you are setting your movies in UP, in Purvanchal, today also one movie is released, this Raktanchal, and I've seen the clippings, and it is full of abuses, just to make it more. And one more incident, Dr. Banerjee, that is, you just listen to me about this, and there is one incident, and everyone who is available, that is very interesting. Once Mr. Raj Kapoor was doing screening for that movie Ram Teri Ganga Maili, in which Mandakini was heroine, and she was breastfeeding her child, and her breast was shown very clearly in that movie. And many other filmmakers who were present there at the screening, they said that no, no, this is vulgar, you must not show this. Raj Kapoor said one thing, that while it was being shown, I saw no one leaving the room. So this is certainly on us, that we are entertaining it, we are promoting it. So it is our responsibility also. It is their responsibility, but if they are not listening to it, it must be taken care of by teachers, by educationists, by people of erudition, by with people who are well aware of certain other things in the society, and their ability to say or portray certain things in their words. It is their responsibility also, that we must stop it, we must not entertain it, we must not read, write, or talk about it. So they will die out.
I think the most need of the hour now in terms of cinema or film is there should be immediately at place a censor board for web series. They are having free hand,
Yes,
and
yes, yes, yes.
most of them are negatively using this free hand. It is very unfortunate.
Of course,
Any web series, you cannot
I
watch
agree.
it with your family or with your friends or with your children. You cannot. There will be some
Of
scenes
course,
which are
of
useless.
course.
there will be language completely abusive, which is not needed.
Very true.
In a very beautiful web series called Family Man, you have abusive language. It's not needed.
Yes.
So web series,
yes,
you know, somewhere web series slowly is gaining the reputation of being that, you know, B grade kind of entertainment. So I think the need of the hour is the government should immediately act on it and have a censor board which works sensibly and
They are having that
rationally.
too. They in that they are film people, those who are concerned in filmmaking. They are talking about coming up with some regulatory board which can really tackle these things,
And
and
since
very soon we'll have one.
you are writing 2-3 articles, film critic articles, critiquing articles and archiving work every day in different newspapers, I think Dr. Vimlendu, you also should try to write something on this censor board on a web series, and
Yes,
we
yes,
should
of
share it.
course,
You know, it
of
is the
course,
need of the hour. As
of
yesterday's your
course.
writing was shared by, you know, your writing is very closely watched by Bollywood personalities, directors, that I am
Yes,
aware of, and I think your writing might have an impact on the Bollywood industry. That's for sure. It was an absolute pleasure and honor to have you today. And as usual,
thank you.
very
Thanks a
engaging,
lot.
very interesting, important things. And you would be happy to know we had 215 participants joining us. And right now also we have 100 participants who are with us. So it has been, this truly speaks of the fruitful session that we had, engaging as always with Dr. Kumar Vimlendu Singh, and we definitely would love to have you in the near future also. From the entire team of Gnosis,
Thank you.
thank you very much for
Thank
sparing
you.
your time, and it was a great pleasure and honor to have you, Dr.
Thank you.
Vimlendu.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so
Thank you,
much.
Dr.
Please do
Banerjee.
take care. Please do take care of your
Take
lovely
care.
family. Keep safe
Thank
distance.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, participants. Thank you.
Thank you.